This is The Second Studio, hosted by two architects, myself, David Lee, and Marina Borderonnet. This week, it's the two of us in a casual after-hours conversation during which we talk about everyday life and just, I don't know, just things, right? Because not every episode has to be about architecture necessarily. It doesn't have to be structured. It doesn't have to be a guest. It can just be two humans talking about life, right? You're not excited about this one. You're looking very, very sleepy.
I'm very hungry. It's very hard for me to focus when I'm very hungry.
Okay, good. This will be a 15-minute podcast.
Yeah, it better be captivating, otherwise you're going to lose me right then.
Okay. Sponsors.
Designers and architects, if you're looking for a powerful and real-time visualization and VR tool, then check out Enscape. Why is Enscape special? Well, it's super easy to use because it's a plugin and not a standalone application, which means you can work directly in your SketchUp, Rhino, ArchiCAD, Vectorworks, or Revit model. It only takes a couple clicks from installation to creating your first rendering. Enscape does realistic renderings, 360-degree panoramas and videos, and virtual reality environment. We use Enscape and we think you will love it too, so click the Enscape 3D link in our show notes to learn more.
I used to start remodeling projects with hours of tedious measuring and recreating the existing conditions. Then I discovered Canvas, an iPad and iPhone app that lets me easily scan entire homes in minutes and automatically generates editable models in formats like SketchUp, ArchiCAD, Vectorworks, Revit, and more in as little as one day. Thanks to Canvas, I spend more time designing the future instead of measuring the past. Get to the design phase faster with Canvas. Visit canvas.io/SSP or click the link in our show notes to schedule your demo and get your first as-built free. Fellow architects and interior designers, if you're looking for an ultra-fast and robust BIM computer program for your office, then check out ArchiCAD. ArchiCAD leads the industry by enabling architectural and interior design firms around the world to freely design, supported by innovative technology that expands as far as the imagination can stretch. ArchiCAD is also always evolving and advancing, which allows designers to push that technology to their advantage while working in an accurate model. So start your fully functioning free trial today by clicking on the ArchiCAD link in our show notes. This is The Second Studio with David and the Peanut Marina. You're not even sitting up straight. What is this?
That's how I sit in this chair. It's meant to be set like that.
Yeah, usually...
designers spend a lot of time designing comfortable chairs. It's because you want to be comfortable in them. You don't want to, sit like you have a broom in your butt, right? Like, you gotta... You gotta sit like it's meant to be used for.
Yeah, that's true. Usually we're sitting in, desk chairs.
Yeah, yours is extremely uncomfortable. I don't know how you can manage.
And it's a table and everything, but you're sitting in a chaise lounge, as the French would say.
Hey man, that chair was next to the table, and you're like, oh, you can record in this if you want. What do you think is gonna happen?
It's kind of funny because you're fully reclined, and the mic is optimally positioned, so you don't even have to move at all.
I think I'm going to do interviews in this chair from now on.
Like, the only thing that's moving is your eyes.
I can
Nothing
make
else
them
is
not
moving.
move if you want.
Huh?
Is it creepy now? My eyes don't move at all.
Well. No, I don't know. It's about the same, I guess. So,
yeah, this is very comfortable. You know, some people have podcasts and they're sitting in comfy sofas and have little tables and drinks, and I'm like, well, that could be me right there.
Yeah, I've thought about that, but it's just work,
But it's hard to get for me, it's hard to get in the headspace if I'm too comfortable.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Hard to feel the grind a little bit.
Yeah. More grind. So, I don't know, what else has been going on? Oh, we should probably talk about, as listeners, or I guess at least followers of our social media would know, that one of our guests was a close friend, family friend of ours, an architect and an architectural teacher, mostly known as, passed away at the end of last year. Yeah. But their celebration of life, as it was called, took place fairly recently. So we were out of town for that. David Brodie was his name, for anyone who's like, who is this person you're speaking about? Yeah, and I don't think we announced it on or discussed it on the show itself, his passing.
I'm not sure we did. I mean, we did make an announcement in posts and stories and stuff, but I don't think that we did. Celebration of life is an interesting concept. like funerals are depressing. They're depressing because, well, it's sad. Like you literally just lost someone, right? So there's a lot of like loaded emotions from everybody, and usually, I mean, I don't know. I haven't been to many funerals. I probably have been to 2 or 3 in my whole life. Thinking about it, actually, that's not a whole lot. And the one I went to, you know, there is like the ceremony at usually the cemetery. I mean, none of the people I went to were Christian or anything like that, so there wasn't anything like that. And then afterwards, usually you gather at either the person who passed away's house or somebody in the family who's nearby, and you just kind of have a bite and a drink and reminisce the person, and then, you know, say goodbye and never see each other forever, right? Which is kind of weird, and it's
never see the other people at the... Okay.
Which is kind of, you know, it makes sense, and usually it ends on a nice note because you most likely would gather somewhere after the actual funeral, right?
Yeah.
But it's still like kind of like weird and sad. The celebration of life for David Brodie in particular was kind of nice because it happened like quite a few months after he had passed away. So I felt like the load of the emotion of losing him probably was digested in a way, right? And it was really nice because basically a lot of different kinds of people came to a stage and talked about the way they knew him and stories about him, which was very nice because it wasn't just like you're in the living room and chit-chatting with members of the family and like, you know, friends who knew the relative that passed away and talk about whatever random stuff. You're actually learning about who the person who passed away was from a point of view that you probably did not know them under, which I thought was very interesting.
It's an odd thing also, I think, with teachers. I mean, so for him, I don't know I can't recall his exact age, but he was quite old. He had a 93. Very good long life. But so he also taught for many, many, many decades. So that therefore means he had a lot of students. So what's interesting with teachers in particular, I feel, is that when they pass away, if you think about the sheer number of lives that they've influenced in a very either small or sometimes significant way, it's just so many people, like a lot of people. And to be honest, when we had him on the show, like this was now 4 years ago. It was a while ago. It feels like 2 years ago, but it was well before the pandemic. We had him on because I've always thought he was a very interesting person. And also I was aware that he was at that time still quite old. And I thought, well, a conversation with him long format could be interesting because if you think about it really, for the older people we all know, or just people in general, like I don't actually know their life stories. Even some of my closest friends, like I don't know the information that we cover on the podcast very often. Like on here, when we have guests, we often start with where you're from. How did you get introduced to architecture? To give me some of these understandings. I actually don't know this information about a lot of even our close friends. So the same thought occurred with David Brodie. I was like, he's always been sort of a mysterious character. That was sort of his appeal. I feel like somewhat intentionally sometimes. So, but we had him on the show, and that was the reason. I didn't necessarily think that, when we put it out there, people would know who he is. Right. Because it just didn't occur to me. Also because he was old, and he had retired a number of years ago. You know, I'm like, I don't know if people who know who he is are the type of people who listen to podcasts, you know, this kind of thing. Yeah. But we ended up getting a fair amount of folks reaching out. And this was also before our Instagram following was as big. So I suspect had we done a recording with David now, or in the last, more recently, we would have had more people reaching out. But it was fascinating to see that these like architects, you know, contact us and say, like I had David Brodie as a teacher back in, you know, like the 70s or the 80s, which is quite some time ago. It's really, really weird. But yeah, I think to your point, it's interesting to hear the different impact that he had on people's lives. And also, I think someone in this ceremony mentioned, or they described it as that there are, how did they put it? Like this, the number of people who attended the event is equal to the same number of different versions of David that existed, because he had a particular relationship with everybody in a way, which is interesting too, because you kind of, for me, my headspace goes, like, if I had a long-term relationship with a teacher that lasted, until that teacher becomes 90-some years old, and then there's a celebration of life, and then I meet a bunch of his former students who I never knew before, me, personally, I'd be like, but how
close
but
were
how
you?
well did you really? I think I knew him better than you did.
I think that's what everyone was thinking at that event. They're like, but I was his best student, really. No, but I was.
But
no,
I think that's
but
also the magic of someone who is just a captivating person. The pistachios are still lingering in my mouth, but also maybe the marker of a maybe also a good teacher, because everyone that he's taught feels like that they were maybe not like the special best student, but that there was a really strong connection with them that was special for them.
Yeah. No. The thing you mentioned of having him on an interview to kind of like, get a chance to know his life story and just kind of like know his story is interesting. And that's actually something I was thinking about the other day. I was like, I was thinking about, my parents, my grandparents, and I was like, I don't really know the life of my grandparents, also because some of them passed away before I was even born, and some passed away later, but I wasn't really in the age of having, midnight conversation with them, asking them about what it was growing up in like the 1940s or whatever
in Poland,
it was, right?
Yeah.
I'm not Polish.
That's a chicken. I always feel like it's Poland, though. I don't know why.
Poland. Poland sounds like Poland to me, and it confuses me. But yeah, no, I was thinking about that, and I was like, that would be a good thing to ask. Like, even my parents, I know their life stories because of, them telling me bits here and there, but I don't know it by heart because I wasn't there, right? So I would probably not have a very good memory by the time I have kids, and I'm trying to tell my kids what their grandparents' life was like. Yeah. And I was like, it would be nice if they could write a book, a little journal about like their life, or like even the things that they remember from their parents, their grandparents, just so it's captured somewhere, because I don't know, like I feel like I would like to know, those types of things now that I'm older. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of resources to find that out.
Yeah. It's a weird thing.
It's not like you can go on Facebook and see like, so they got engaged in this day and they got married that day and there's a photo of them buying their house.
Yeah. It's an odd thing because someone who lives, to their mid 80s or even 90s, which is getting up there, and they pass away, if they don't have a book written about them, which is the case for most people, like most people don't have a book written about them. It's an odd thing because I wouldn't say that their life was a waste, but it sort of feels like it's kind of a waste in that no one in the next generation or the second generation removed knows about any of it.
I know.
And nor do they care. And it's not archived. It's not it's just...
I mean, can we each get
fleeting.
a Wikipedia page?
Say what?
Can we each get a Wikipedia page?
That'd be too many Wikipedia pages.
Yeah, that'd be too many.
I'm not saying that everyone deserves to have a book written about them either, let's be honest. But yeah, it's I mean, there's always something interesting about a person that you can usually, most of the time there's something about a person you can extract when you hear their life story. And I don't know. It's weird that we're not able to somehow capture that and bottle it and find out the essence of it and have it be, I guess, of some use or entertainment or of some value in some way. It just seems.
It's like there is no more. It's like you're losing the story of your family and friends, and also there is no. What you call it?
Archive.
No, but like when you like family heirloom, or there is nothing that gets passed down, like neither information wise or like belonging wise. Like It's, you know,
it
I mean,
still happens. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, but it's like things that are kind of like shit.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, actually, no. I would say the older people who pass away now probably have things that are more interesting and valuable and have more meaning than the younger people who will pass away in the next 20, 30 years.
Well, maybe. I mean, there is a difference now because so much of what we interact with is just virtual technology in a sense.
But also because a lot of things that people buy, they just consume them. They don't buy them because it means something to them. And therefore, like, you know, like my IKEA chair, well, I'm not going to pass that down to my kids. Like, it doesn't mean anything. You know?
Yeah, but I think that the notion of like consumerism has always been around. I mean, I could believe that's maybe more prevalent now. I mean, in the last like 20 years than it was, let's say, 80 years ago.
That's true.
But it's also because there's generally more, there's more money, but there's also mostly there's more stuff to buy. There's just a lot of stuff to buy, you know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But yeah, the ceremony was good. It was interesting to hear everyone's perspectives and learn about David from different points of view. The thing with David, so, you know, anyone who had him as a teacher, which won't be the majority of the listeners, but, you know, they know who he is, obviously. But for those of you who don't know David Brodie, he always struck me. So, like, I've had a fair number of architecture teachers, right, over the course of 7 years of education and then working at offices and stuff. But David always struck me as he always stood out in my mind. One, because he was a family friend, so he automatically exists in a different category, kind of. What do you call it? So I'm not fully. I'm sort of biased in a sense because I had that relationship with him. But he was just a very. Did you ever have any interactions with him in the teaching kind of academic architectural way?
Why would I?
I'm asking.
No, of course not.
Why would I? What do you mean, why would I?
I mean, the only time I saw David Brodie was when we were visiting him with your family. So, no, I've never had any. Well,
you know how when you talk with him, like, socially, he's sort of, like, elusive and he kind of, I don't know. He makes jokes and he's kind of, like, not on the periphery of the conversation, but he has a weird way of kind of dancing around and keeping the conversation entertaining. And do you know what I'm saying, kind of?
Yeah, kind of.
Kind of. Well, anyway, his way of critiquing, at least, was kind of similar.
But you didn't have him as a teacher.
No, but I had him as I wouldn't call him a mentor because I didn't talk to him enough for it to be like that. But he would critique some of my work when I was a student.
Oh.
I mean, just on a handful of occasions. Mostly when
so David,
I
your work
was
is shit.
What? What's that?
Yeah, so David, your work is shit.
Mostly when I was in school, I took a gap year. I took a year off from doing studio, and during that time, I did competitions on my own, and that was the time when I would talk to him about stuff.
I had no idea.
Yeah, and it wasn't because I felt like I needed to talk to him. He wasn't my advisor or anything like that. It was more like I was just curious to see what he had to say. And I think I showed him a few projects too when I was like a second year, like pretty early on, because I was just curious. But anyway, there's a long way of saying that the way he would give feedback was just different. And it wasn't like, you know, you have some teachers and they're like way too specific with telling you what you should and should not do. And as a student, I was always like, yeah, it's not really helpful when you just tell me what to do. That's not, even as a student, I knew that's not really actually helping me because it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel natural to the process for you to tell me what to do, even if it is the right solution. And then you have teachers who do bullshit stuff like take your model and then turn it upside down and say like, what about that? And they walk away. You're like, okay, fuck off. Like, give me actual advice or don't be like a showman. But the thing that I remember about him is that he would listen to whatever was being said and he would like observe very intently. And David was a very sociable person, could make small talk with anybody, could make jokes, could have a lot of stories, had a lot of stuff to say. So I always felt that you knew that when he was not talking and he was listening and watching to you speak, you knew he was listening, like he was actually listening. Unlike a lot of teachers who I felt like when I was talking to them, you could kind of tell that they're there, but they're mostly just thinking about what they want to say or what they were going to say already.
It's because you take too long.
Or that they're trying to, hear what you have to say to then pair it with something else they've already learned. Like they're playing a matching game. And that was often the case of they're looking at your project and they're just trying to go through the Rolodex of information of like historical references and say, oh, this is the match. Look at Mies van der Rohe. Oh, this is a match. Look at Greg Lynn, or whatever version of it. But with David, I always got the impression, at least, that he was like really listening, because the shit he was saying in response was always like really specific to not only the project, but the person who was speaking with. And I don't mean specific as in telling you what to do, but it was just sculpted around that example.
He was teaching he taught for like over 30 years, you know, like I think it's really rare, I have a feeling, for people and teachers these days to teach for that long, at least in architecture school.
I mean, I don't know what that means. I guess time will you mean like people who are our age teaching
I don't know.
will not teach for the next 30?
Even me being in like when I was in school, the teachers that I had were probably maybe only a handful of them were, well, I mean, I guess, yeah. They start teaching at 30 and they're teaching for 30 years or 60, so yeah, never mind. But I feel like a lot of them weren't that good. So I must have missed something.
Wait,
there.
So are you conflating age with just bad teachers? I'm not understanding this.
No, but I feel like if you do something for that long, right? 30 years is a long time.
Yeah.
Like you should be really good at giving feedbacks.
Yeah, but you know, right? I mean, we talked about this before. Like, how many people do we know?
No, I know.
Teachers, professionals, whoever else, they have X decades of experience, but they've been doing this. They really have like a year and a half of experience because they do the same thing over and over again. And I don't mean they're honing their craft either. They're just repeating the same thing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But I do think, but so anyway, I do think teaching design is hard. And I think in the case of him, he his feedback was it was different. Like I'll give you an example, and I don't know how this will come across, but it was a funny thing that always stood out to me because it was an odd piece of feedback. I was designing this chapel, and what's happening? What are you doing?
I can't see your face. So
this is really distracting to the. This is a very important story I'm telling. And oh God, yeah, but that's in my face. Yeah, but that doesn't work. Here. Oh, that doesn't work either. This is not good. This is why we don't switch things up.
No, but I can't see.
Okay, what about this?
I can't see you still. You're backlit. Why don't you understand about lighting?
Turn on the light behind you then.
Wait. I can't reach.
Oh my God. Well, yeah. You see this?
Well, yeah, I can't.
This is why we can't have nice things. Oh. Mm-hmm. Wow. It does feel like I'm being interviewed now, I guess.
I mean, you had the choice with the little light. You want that one, so that's
I prefer that over the little... yeah. Anyway, so that was my story about David Brodie. What do you have to say?
What? No, you have to share it with me.
All right. All right, have you fixed your light, or is that done with now? You can't even say yes. You just blink. What is this? Like some kind of...
I just blinked because I needed to blink.
It's a podcast. You have to use words to speak. You can't just blink. Blinking doesn't mean anything to the listeners. God, people are tired of me saying this, but in the past in particular, people, David talks so much. Yeah, because I say stuff and Marina blinks. I'm like, what the fuck? You need to use words. Speak, woman, speak. And David keeps going on and on. Yeah, well, sometimes I edit out the silences, and the silences are the points in which you should be speaking. But then there's just long silence, so I just keep talking.
Yes, I fixed the light.
Okay, good. Right, what was I talking about?
You said you had something to share about David.
No, yeah. So I was talking about this funny thing where I had this project I was working on. It was a chapel for an Air Force veteran community. So there's a community where the Air Force veterans would go to live when they're retired, and it's kind of like
That's where they go to die?
An old folks home, nursing home. I don't know how you call it. But it was a community like that. It wasn't like a hospital. It was more of just a general community with houses and stuff like that. Anyway, so the project, the brief was to design a chapel. And my thinking for the project had to do with how would this chapel impact these specific people who had lived a very particular kind of life and flown, at this generation, like airplanes during World War II and whatnot, which is a very interesting thing, right? So that was a lot of my thinking. And the project was whatever it was. But so when I was talking to David about the project, I was saying that this is the lens through which I'm understanding my work. So the work is achieving something in terms of how it makes them feel. And we talked about many different things. But as I was leaving, he posed a question, I think partly just for fun, but also quite seriously. He was like, well, imagine that you had no building and it was just a cemetery. And then that was the end of the conversation. And I was like, what are you talking about, David? He goes, well, just think about that. And then he closed his door. I was like, okay, well, that was the most confusing and intriguing part of our conversation. And you just close your front door. And now I have to think about what that means. And there's a lot of different ways that one could interpret that question. And in general, I don't think that what I want to say is that I think sometimes teachers give weird, quirky, abstract feedback as a way to avoid actually giving feedback. Yeah. So I want to say that I don't think this was the case because, again, there was a lot of conversation that existed outside of this. What happens if you have no chapel at all and it was just a cemetery? But it was an interesting thing. It caused me to think quite a bit about that, because one of the things he always voiced, which was very peculiar as an architecture teacher, was first of all, should there even be a building, and then secondly, what is a building, which is really annoying to hear when you're an architecture student, because you're like, what do you mean if there should be a building? Yeah. I have to design a building because that was part of my thing. Like, what are you talking about? Get out of here.
And if you design a chapel, then, does it become about the building more than it should be becoming about what that building is supposed to mean? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, but I think those two questions in general, and David was not the only person to think of this, of course, but the question of whether or not there should even be a building, to be honest, is the first question I often ask myself when we're designing things. Like, should we even be doing this?
But it's also interesting to say that to your students, because you're given a brief from, let's say, another teacher, and basically, in a way, the teacher giving you that brief is already telling you what the answer should be, and it should be a chapel. And it's kind of, I think it's really smart for him to have told you that feedback is that you basically need to question and think of everything, even if people come to you with the answer. That's not necessarily the best answer or the right answer.
Yeah. It really goes back to the, abandoning preconceptions. And it's very easy to just roll with what's been given to you. And the fact that there needs to be a building, the fact that you have to fit in all this program, like... Yeah,
and even for the teacher to have given the brief with the same answer to all of the students, in a way, I wish it was a test to see who would question to do a chapel or not to do a chapel. Because you could imagine that there is a million different, option that could get manifested from this project across 20 students.
That's for me. I always felt like what I didn't like was most students you would take the program, the brief, the program, the requirements, and you throw it down on paper, and then you use some kind of architectural language, formal language, some kind of tectonic approach that was trendy at the time, whether they be blobs or deconstructive, angle things, and then you kind of, those two come together and there's your building. And everyone in critiques and the teachers were so obsessed with like, oh, this angle is doing that, and this curve is doing this, and this is how that angle interacts here, and then, oh, there's like double glazing and I don't know, whatever, double facades and this and sustainability things. And I never felt like I never felt like a lot of the projects really got down to the core question, though, of like at the level of should we even be designing a building at all to satisfy the real question. In the case of the chapel, the real question to me was how does this space or whatever it is impact the people who have lived these lives, had these experiences, are now here, and then furthermore, assuming there needs to be some kind of structure. Then the program, like, should we have this part of the program? Are there other things that aren't part of it? But we never, it really bothered me, like in school, that this was never really a thing. It was always just about form and tectonics and then program fitting. I'm like, what? Which
is really unfortunate because I feel like that's what architects should be trained to. They should be trained to question those things and question the answers and the solutions that are being proposed, not just execute them.
Yeah.
And that's a problem too with a lot of, like, let's say, buildings that were built as a solution to a problem that was decided by a government, let's say.
The solution was...
Right, like, oh, there is a housing crisis in, I don't know, Paris in the 70s, so let's build giant towers and not think about, like, is this actually how we should think about it? Or is it like more of a bigger picture that we should look at the whole city as a whole and decide exactly where that should be, built and how they should be built and how they should be integrated, like it's people just jump to solutions without, I think, questioning them enough.
Well, I think also this is a good example of maybe what architects do or should be doing or are trained to do versus what maybe the average person thinks we do. The average person thinks we do engineering for some strange reason. The number of times I hear from real estate agents who are like, well, you got to make sure it stands up. I'm like, yeah, that's not our job. What are you talking about? There's an engineer who runs calculations. That's, to my eyes, is black magic. It's wizardry. I don't know what they're doing, but they make sure it stands up. Yes, I took structures in school. Yes, I passed those courses, but no, I'm not calculating anything.
Am I using this today? Nope.
Nope. But so what I was going to say is that there is sometimes this perception that what architects do is we make nice-looking buildings, which is what we do, but that is people think that's all we do. Like, yeah, you make it look nice. That's your job. Contractors are like, yeah, you make it look pretty, and I build it. Not really, though. The first thing we do is we think about whether or not the building should exist, whether or not this is productive and helpful for society. We do not assume the building should exist, and to your point of the towers. So there's the interesting thing is that when you're learning architecture, and especially when you do larger scale works, or even a house for that matter, there's a lot of other... But let's say larger scale work. There's a lot of other questions outside of building stuff that you have to answer, like cultural questions, political questions.
Yeah, but that's where I think in school and in real life, the actual role and power of architecture is lost. Is that we don't focus on this questioning part. We just go and do it. And I mean, yeah, if you do things really well, it could really impact and change people's lives, society, our evolution, how we live, everything, right? And if you do it wrong, it could go the complete opposite way. And there is an extreme power in doing it one way or the other, right? And just thinking how to do it rather than just going and do it. Which is, it's.
I mean, again, I think that's why architects are so passionate about what they do, because if you really think about what physical architecture is, it is the stuff that we live and work within. It is literally, it's a framework, but it's also because it's designed and it's authored and it's made, it's fabricated, that we have control over it. It is very much a device for what's the phrase? It's sort of like social engineering, right? If you build a housing complex that is horrible, you are impacting people's lives in a very fundamental and primitive level. And if you do it great, then it's also that same way, but in a positive light. So it's, I think that's also why I ended up studying urban design. But these questions are important, and the same things even apply to a house on obviously a smaller scale most often, and in a private setting, you take what the client tells you and then you blow it up for your own sake to think about, well, should we even be doing this remodel? Oh, I need a new kitchen. I don't. Do you? Do you need it? Is that the thing? Right. No, I must have these countertops. I don't know if you do. I think actually what you need to do is to do something else to fix your issues. It's just hard. It's really hard to, or rather, I should say, it's easy to just jump toward the solution.
Yeah, because there's a clear path to that. You know, like you're not reinventing the wheel. You're not like searching in the dark without knowing what you're looking for. Like it's a safe route, and everybody is tempted to just go the safe route. I
think it's also when you are practicing, it's even easier to skip over those things, right? Because there's other constraints. Like in school, you have like the space to just kind of have a weird working schedule. You know, there's nothing really at stake. There's no money. There's no clients. There's a deadline for the review, but there's no like building schedule. You know, you don't have consultants you're working with. So you just have this freedom to kind of just like think about stuff if you want to, which can be the downfall of a lot of students. But I think that's a very powerful thing. And I think in practice, the trick is to allow yourself or to force yourself to have that time to be that way. And sometimes it's hard in the day-to-day, right? Because everyone's busy. Everyone has things to go to, emails to respond to, meetings to get to, whatever else. But the true value, I think, of what architects do or what we do is that sometimes it's just like 10 minutes or half an hour of just sitting and thinking and maybe doodling or not doodling. I
actually find myself sometimes I have the clearest idea like after, let's say 6 p.m. or like when I'm in the shower, just because I'm not on the clock and I just feel less pressure and can think more, you know, freely and loosely. It's an odd thing. Like there's a tension between, you know, having to get stuff done versus convincing yourself you don't have to get anything done in a sense to give yourself that freedom. And I think understanding how to toggle that is a skill almost, and it has to be learned. And finding your groove, like finding when you feel like you're in the right headspace where you need to be in to think clearly about those questions, right? And how can you not force yourself to be in that headspace, but how could you turn it on and off? Yeah, I think it's a tricky one.
It's a tricky one, and that reminds me, I think we'll probably do a fellow designer episode about
making big promises,
about that, because it's a good discussion.
Yeah, that's true. And now a quick break to thank the sponsors who support the Second Studio.
The Second Studio podcast is made possible by support from Autodesk. Autodesk has been part of the design conversation since 1982, providing the tools that help architects around the globe imagine and create beautifully designed, memorable buildings that people love and admire. Autodesk supports the work of the Second Studio, bringing the architecture community together, sparking curiosity, and leading vibrant interviews with the industry's visionaries and thought leaders. The Second Studio works hard to carry the architecture conversation forward, and Autodesk is proud to contribute to this podcast. Learn more about Autodesk by clicking the link in our show notes.
Spreadsheets can't bring your designs to life, but Programma can. Say hello to a bespoke integrated software suite built by and for experienced architecture and design professionals. Use your Pinterest image library to build collaborative mood boards, then turn them into shared online presentations with a click using Programma's pinboards. Use the Programma Web Clipper to build a centralized specification library for your studio. Share always up-to-date specifications and product schedules with clients, trades, and colleagues by generating beautiful, branded, live links and client dashboards. Programma's clean, minimal interface allows your work to shine. Start for free and save 25% on annual plans at programma.design/Second Studio. So the other thing that happened when we went to Seoul for the memorial is that it was the first time we took a road trip with our fully electric car.
I don't think we've talked about our car in the show before. We've talked about cars plenty in the past, where we try and critique their design without knowing anything about car design, and talk about cars even though we know nothing about cars. Yeah, we do have an electric car now. How's it been? Co-pilot?
Yeah, I'm
You've driven it?
Yeah, well, you don't have to, like, put me on the spot everywhere we go. We talk about the cars, like, oh, you know, Marina, this and that. And yeah, I don't really drive because I
know
don't
you
really
don't drive,
have to.
but I'm trying to remember.
And also because
driven...
I don't think I would even be allowed to drive it very far because it's your little baby. So that's
These
that.
are myths, things that Marina makes up, like puppets sewn out of nothing.
Be careful with this. Be careful with that. It's like, I know. It's also, I'm paying for half of that car. I know. Don't you
No, but
forget?
I couldn't remember if you've driven the car.
I drove it once.
Oh yeah.
To go to the grocery store.
That's right. Yeah. That's a good drive.
I got a little bit confused.
What?
Well, the whole like regenerating brake, like you just like lift your foot and it stops. Got me confused. So
yeah, no, that's fair. It takes a couple of days to get used to.
But no, great. I mean, it's really smooth. It's really quiet. But the thing is, the range. Like when you do big road trips, it's kind of like, okay, the battery. And surprisingly or not surprisingly, I mean, major cities have charging station. You can find them with apps and stuff. They have fast charging station. And then there is, Central Coast and other places, kind of a bit more remote that don't have a whole lot.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm like, I get it. You're not big time. You don't have maybe as many people who have electric cars. And most people who have electric cars here, I mean, in those places, have their own charger.
Yep.
Fine. But I'm also like, hey, people, it's 2024. Like, we gotta catch up on things a little bit, and we gotta make that more available. I mean, I don't know. I see like all of those like street meters. I'm like, I don't think it takes much more infrastructure to put an electric charger than it does for a street meter.
It is to run the wiring out there.
I mean, there is wiring all over the streets for street lighting. So I don't know. Just put them on grocery store parking lots. Like there is a bunch of parking lots already there. Like just, I don't know, figure out a way. Hire design firms to figure out how to design them and make them look pretty. Like, do something. But there is. I was shocked actually that there is a lack of charging station. I think there is a lot of people who are very interested in having electric cars and who have electric cars, but I think there would be even more people who would get electric cars if there were a lot more chargers available.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Which is silly because it means that the only thing that stops us from moving forward and progressing on this question is just the availability of charging. So it's like, oh yeah, like in California 2030 or whatever it's going to be, everything's going to be on electric cars. Well, no,
all new cars by 2030 electric.
Yeah, fine, but 80% of the population will still be using their old car, so that's not gonna it's not gonna solve the issue. And you gotta encourage people in getting the electric car, so you got to show them that you're ready for that change to happen.
Yeah, of all the people we speak with about cars in general, when the subject of fully electric vehicles comes up as a primary vehicle, and assuming they don't have a need to drive like 400 miles like every day, it's the lack of infrastructure is everyone's concern. It's range, but also mostly it's the lack of infrastructure because most people, they don't need to drive 300 miles on a stretch like twice a week. It's just driving to work, but there's not enough charging places. And there's it's the DC, like the ultra fast charging, and then there's the next level down, which is like significantly slower.
Oh, it's like, what's even the point of this?
So like for David Brodie's thing, it was in San Luis Obispo because he taught there, and they have a bunch of charging stations on campus. And because it was the weekend, we were able to park there without getting a ticket. But it's like gained 13% over 4 hours or 3 hours or something. Like that's not enough. Why did you guys put in the slow charge? You should have put in the fast charges. Slow chargers are not worth anything to anybody. Like you'd have to be parked there. I guess if you were parked there for the full 8 hours, like the whole, like from 9 to 6, then maybe you'd get, I think like 50% of the battery or something. But it just seems not, I don't know. Maybe the cost is a lot higher to do for the fast charging, but it's silly. So, but with the car we have, the ranges wasn't an issue. I mean, we got to slow easily. We could have kept going too, but you need a charge to be able to drive back. You can't do a round trip.
Yeah, there wasn't much between, on the way to charge either. So
no, and I'm also not super interested in like, people say, "Oh, you're going on a road trip, just park and have lunch and then charge your car and keep
Oh,
going."
I'd be
like,
totally down
but
to do that, but we're always in such a hurry to get back and like do stuff that never is an option for us.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, I'm not
But
trying to.
yeah, I mean,
make
I
it
would love
longer.
to do that.
Yeah. Well, so tell people about our Tesla.
That's not a Tesla. No Tesla in this house.
Oh my! Oh gosh!
Yeah.
Snooty person.
Yeah, Tesla. No, tell people about a non-Tesla car.
Yeah, we have a Polestar. So we were looking to get a car, right? And we were looking at. I think the two contenders were either a Dodge Challenger.
That's one of my favorite
or a Polestar,
cars.
which is like they're not even close to being the same thing. When I said,
I think it's a good
I
summary
think the
of who we
Challenger
are.
is a two-door also. Like it's
It's a two-door.
It's a two-door.
Well, in France you say 3 doors because you count the trunk. We've had this conversation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm.
So it's a 3-door.
Okay. Well, yeah, 2-door car.
3-door.
So those were the two choices.
I mean, we did look at Volvos too because
that's true. Yeah, we're gonna get a Volvo.
like they had some like hybrids and this and that, and they were fine. One of them was actually really stiff. The other one like felt like a couch, so it was really nice. But we're not like super in love with it. So yeah, we did go with the Polestar, and it's funny because it's always like that. Whenever you get something and you think you're like one of the first ones to get it, you turn around and you look around and you just see that everywhere you go.
There are more of them for sure
it's
now.
like, well, I think also because again your attention is focusing on different things, so you do pay more attention. But yeah, so apparently that is the architect car.
Yes, which I'm not quite sure how I feel about that, but it's what it is.
I mean, the Dodge Challenger is not the architect car.
Yeah, I mean, the debate for anyone who's thinking about getting a car and they're debating between electric versus not, we were having that same debate. And I would say maybe about 6 months ago, I made a decision about my life. I'm just going to trust my gut more. I'm not going to think. I'm just going to trust my gut. I feel like I've had enough life experience where now my gut is set. I can just trust it.
But you have good guts?
I put in, a lot of years of thinking logically and being very structured about the thinking and being very analytical. And now I built up that knowledge in my gut, and now I can just trust it. I don't have to think. So that's kind of how I made the decision regarding electric, because it is a big switch. We go from, non-electric at all to electric, and then the range, and we had no idea what the range is actually going to be like. We didn't know how to charge, none of that stuff, all brand new, right? But it's awesome. It's awesome. So I would say anybody who does like a normal amount of driving, and especially if you have a house or you have a place you can hook up at night, electric, no questions. Yeah. No questions at all.
It's nice not to have to worry about the price of gas anymore.
It's so fast. It's zippy. You just get from here to there in an instant. And it's
pretty smooth. I have to say, as a number one co-pilot, I do get pretty bad motion sickness in cars. It took me a couple of days to get adjusted to like the regenerating.
Well, that's because my driving was not good the first 3 days.
It had reminded me a lot of childhood memories, being passenger of a stick shift car.
Ugh.
And, the very many throw up I did along the way of the French roads. So I was not doing so good. But now it's pretty good. It's very smooth. And it's pretty quiet.
It's quiet.
Which is really nice.
The other day I was driving someone's car that was, gas-powered vehicle, relatively new. It was an Audi, So I wasn't driving like an old VW Beetle or something. It was like a modern car. Man, it felt so outdated compared to the electric car.
Yeah, your driving was terrible.
I'm like, this is nonsense. What is this? This thing is revving up, the shifting of gears, the having to use a brake pedal every time I go into a turn. This is bullshit. This is like old. Like, what are we doing? You're living in the past. Move forward. It is a weird thing. I mean, the changes in terms of driving experience between one versus the other. Again, for a person who, I'm not like a street racing person. I get it if you love, having a V8 or whatever. That's fine. That's not me. But the differences are subtle, right? It's just that with the electric, you don't feel shifting. There's no shifting of gears. At least I don't feel any. There's no braking really because you just let off the gas. And you would think that, well, that's the only difference, those two things? Yes. But it makes such a big difference. It's so weird. It's sort of like, the way I describe it is like when you're going into a turn, usually when you're in a gas-powered vehicle, you take your foot off the accelerator and you're coasting for quite a bit. You ease on the brakes, and then you go back and you hit the gas to get out of the turn. And there's like all this downshifting and upshifting automatic. With the EV, your foot just goes up a little bit and then back down a little bit. And actually I like it because also, it's getting like really specific, but when you're going into a turn, it means that your foot is on the gas. So in fact, I strongly feel you have way more control over the vehicle because you're not switching around and the car is not switching between brake and gas. It's sort of like if you're driving stick, and you know this, listeners, you're driving stick, when you go into a turn, you do downshift, and that downshift slows you down and allows you to hit the gas to get out. It feels like that. So you have that amount of power at your fingertips, your toe tips, but there's no downshifting. You just, I don't know. It's just, it's awesome. It's great.
You know, it's funny too because I remember when we talked with your family about we might be getting an electric car, and everybody was like, oh, it sounds great, but also it sounds like a huge pain in the butt. You're gonna have to charge it and this and that. And it's actually, I think, and we don't have a charger where we live, so we have to kind of plan our charging time. But honestly, it's just another thing you just have to get accustomed to, and
it's not that big of a deal.
We also don't drive a whole terribly lot, so we probably charge every 2 weeks, and that's
depends.
that.
Yeah, it depends.
But it's not a big deal. And if you can find a fast charger, it's like you sit in your car for an hour, you can do emails, you can do stuff like
go for a walk, do
groceries,
like
it's not like.
I mean, it is
terribly
fine.
Inconvenient.
For some people, it might not be worth it, but at least for us, I would happily sit, at a charging station for 45 minutes, do emails, and go for a walk, and have an EV rather than have a gas car. It just, it's funny. We were at the, this is like kind of a weird related thought, but we were at the IBS, the Irritable Bowel Syndrome conference, and we caught up with Dirk from Mila, who was showing us all of their stuff. And he was describing to us, again, as he did on the show, when he was on the show, the difference between induction cooktops versus like gas ones. And there's this, as a quick recap of all of that, there's this feeling that a lot of people have, like clients, even architects and interior designers, that gas is like the best, and that's the best for cooking, and it's got to be gas. And also there's clearly an emotional kind of like ambiance aesthetic of gas ranges. And he's talking to us, Dirk was talking to us about induction, which are the smooth glass cooktops, which look very different. And he's saying, if you just look at like the science of it and the performance, induction's the best. Not even close. It heats up faster, it heats up evenly, it's safer, like everything's just better.
It doesn't
there's
chill
no,
the taste of the things.
There's no, unless you're using a wok or something maybe, or doing something like special, there's no performance loss with an induction. In fact, it's better. It's just this perception that people have between the two. And so we're at the show, and we were standing next to a gas range and an induction range, which I guess, I don't know if you call it a range, but induction cooktop.
A cooktop, yeah.
And he was explaining these two, and he's like, look, if you think about it, if you look at the gas one, he said, it's archaic. There's all these pieces to it. There's a pilot thing. You got to turn the thing and it clicks, and sometimes it doesn't click because Mila's pretty good, but water gets down there or whatever. You have all these grills and things you got to clean. There's all this stuff. He's like, it's just this old age stuff. Like, this is the future. It's slick. It's glass. It heats up instantly. And I would describe the EV versus gas-powered vehicle as being the same thing. Like, once you drive an EV, you're like, well, why would I drive something else? The other stuff, unless it's for fun, like driving a Dodge Challenger is fun. But outside of it for fun, why? Yeah. It's just clunky, and it's outdated, So,
Yeah, and then the EVs are looking better and better, and so are the induction cooktops. So I think it just takes time for people to like have their mind shift direction. Like they need to get the click in their head in order to make it happen. So.
But charging in slow was a bit of a challenge, for sure.
A bit of stress.
Yeah, I don't know. We're supposed to be up there again, so I don't know how that's going to work, but we'll figure it out, I guess. Or else we'll just be stranded in slow for an extra day, which is not the worst
2 years.
thing. Yeah. The drive was also a lot better with an EV, that's for sure. Just cruise on around. Super easy. Super, super easy. Not a lot of space in the back of the Polestar.
We still stop at gas station to use the bathroom, though. I was like, well, I mean, they say it's for customers only. I'm like, well, how's that going to work if everybody has an electric car? Which is another thing. I'm like, if you're a gas station, man, just start putting like charging station at your gas station. Like start like switching it up and attract like wider clientele. Like, hello, there's a bunch of business available here, people. What are you waiting for?
Well, the number of spots you need at a gas station at a charging station is just way higher to have it work out because the charging takes so much longer.
Just get the fast one. People would come in, they buy like some Pringles and what is it? Like snacks and stuff. Chill in their car.
Yeah.
I mean, you can even rethink about the gas station. Like, what could the gas station be if that's now the place where you go charge your car?
I would like to design a charging station. It'd be fun.
Charge it. Yeah, charge. Yeah, we had a friend who probably would listen to this episode, who was charging his car on a road trip, down to LA, like today, and he was just sitting in his car for like, I don't know, probably like an hour and a half, and was getting bored. It's like, make the charging station like mini movie theaters. Like people could sit in their car, like a new drive-in, right? Like you could watch a movie sitting in your car while you're charging, and then hit the road again.
No,
like,
there's a lot of cool stuff you could do.
There's a lot of cool things you could do.
I know. But the Tesla's chargers should be opening up to other car companies, I think in June or July.
I think they're open to Rivians already.
Yeah. Rivian has a thing going on. Electric car. Pretty good. But if you're an architect, don't get a Polestar. I don't want this to become like an architect Polestar, architect car thing. It's just weird. Although if Polestar wanted to sponsor us, that'd be cool.
Oh, well, you never know. Maybe we could get discounts for architects.
No, it's good. It's good.
Honestly, our ideal car plan, because right now we only have one car, is to have one electric car, which so far is the Polestar, and then another car, which could be a gas car, but like a cool, fun oldie.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course, it'd be a gas car if it's an oldie. You're not going to buy like the first model Tesla. No, but I'm not talking about like a Ford or a Honda Accord from like 1980. Like I'm not interested in that. Like a classic. Oh, okay, gotcha.
Or like a muscle car.
Yeah. Yes. So I agree with that. Who's driving this muscle car?
I am. What?
You would definitely have to take some driving courses.
Well, it doesn't mean I'm going to drive it like a muscle car.
No, but it's
I could
dangerous.
drive like 20 miles an hour.
Yeah, sure.
The beauty of driving an oldie is that people just stay the fuck away from you.
Do they?
Oh, yeah. First of all, because I feel like it brings some respect, because nothing looks like as nice as this on the road, right? And then if, let's say, they are like, restored, like refinished, like kind of like looking really nice, like people don't want to damage that because it might cost them more money to like, get it fixed.
Would you ever have a new electric sport car? No. Like, you see they have Porsches that are electric. Like someone was charging next to us the other day, they had a Porsche. I felt odd about it. I'm like, this is kind of strange. I mean, I get it, but I I don't know.
No, I mean, I'm not a guy, but I feel like, guys who get this car, they want like the motor to like, roar, they want it to like sound like it has like some balls or something. And so
want the
you
motor
can
to go roar.
like you can't do that with an electric car. There is no roar.
I know. I mean, look, if someone wants a fast car and they like electric and they like Porsche, then it makes sense. I'm not hating on it, but it does seem odd.
I think you can get like did my dad say something like that, or maybe he made it up, that you could like add a sound system to your electric car so it does sound like a motor car? A gas car?
That is grotesque and perverse.
I mean, it's like
one should be doing
vegan
that.
chicken. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
no,
it's
the
even
same
worse
thing.
than that. No, it's like if you took...
I don't know, eating tofu and make it sound like it tastes like chicken. It's messed up to me. That's what it's like.
Yeah, okay. I think the sound thing is worse. It's completely fake.
And so is chicken tofu.
No. But it should taste like chicken. It gives you the sensation of chicken.
But it's made out of plants.
So what?
It's the same thing. Like the taste and the sound is the same thing here.
No. Taste is equal to performance in food. Sound for cars is just pure aesthetics.
Okay, well, they sometimes even make it look like chicken. How messed up is that?
No, I think it's pretty cool.
No, I think it's weird because then you can't trust anything you're eating anymore. It's like, how do I know if this is actual protein?
Okay. So you're against the cars sounding like they're something else.
I think in general, I'm for honesty. So I don't like pretending to be other things. Unless you're a chameleon, like that's the only thing acceptable. It's true though.
Yeah. No fake sound in EVs. That's silly.
No.
I was even wondering,
chicken.
like the subtle whirring sound, the like humming sound that comes out of the Pulsar. It must be a manufactured sound.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah. That I'm okay with because it's a safety thing, so people know that you're there. Otherwise, the car would be too quiet. I'm pretty sure it's manufactured.
I mean, if you think about like a CD player, right, and versus a record player, like you hear like the grits of the diamond head rubbing against the vinyl, stuff like that.
Is it diamond?
I mean, it's I don't think it's an actual diamond, but in French it's called a diamond. You replaced a diamond.
Really?
I think it's probably just a piece of glass or something. And then if you have like the little portable, CD players, it doesn't make a sound because it's a light that's reading it, right?
It's the CD players?
Yeah.
Oh, they make sound.
No, but I mean, you don't hear like the grit of the light hitting it, but you do hear the motor inside spinning. So maybe the sound in the electric car is actually something that spins. I mean,
that's where this was going? I don't think so. The motor only works when you're hitting the gas. So when you're just cruising around in a parking lot, the motor is not spinning at like,
maybe it's a sound that they added just for safety so you could actually hear them.
I'm pretty sure that's what
probably,
it is. Yeah.
That makes sense.
But anyway, yes, big fan
they
of EVs.
should have voices to electric cars. So the car could be like, you're driving on the parking lot and it says, like, hey, move over with your cart. You're on the way.
Okay.
On your right, behind you.
Okay.
No, but imagine, and you can like change the voice.
Yeah, that would be really annoying if that happened. There'd just be constantly people saying, cars speaking to other cars and other people.
No, but they could whisper, so it's not super loud.
Hey, you.
Hey, you on the right. Move your cart over.
But it's been good so far, right?
Oh, you know what they should do? Yeah. They should have little extendable arms that come out of the side with a little punching glove, like a box glove, that just pushes people over.
What? Okay. This conversation is getting weird now.
I think my ideas are fantastic.
I have no doubt that you think your ideas are fantastic.
Of course.
Yes.
Just jealous because I can't.
Okay. Anything else with the Polestar?
No, it is great. Yeah, just go for it, people. Trust your guts. Trust David's guts. Get the electric car.
It's also they got the flex lease, which is what we did. So if we don't like it, and like starting next month or so, just return it. You lose some money, but I'm not going to return it. I like the idea of knowing I'm only going to have the car for a couple of years because just upgrade it in 2 years.
Well, that, and I think also, again, for electric cars, because technology changes relatively quickly, like the electric cars that will come out in 2 years will be better than the ones today. So doesn't really make sense in buying it now.
I do want to say on record that I think that Pulsar needs to have more colors, and I was quite drawn toward the Jupiter color.
Oh, I hate it.
Even though that's the base color, I think it was pretty interesting.
The old woman color?
No, not the old woman.
Oh, you
one.
like that color too, though?
No, it's not an old woman color.
It looks like an old nail polish color.
No, it doesn't. It looks like a very intriguing, somewhat.
No, it looks like a rose gold,
copper, rose gold, subtle thing. It's very interesting.
Boring woman nail polish color. That's what it looks like.
Oh gosh.
The Jupiter was cool too. Yeah, they do need more color. What?
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
The old woman nail polish color.
No.
That's the Jupiter.
That's what I asked, and you said no.
No, but I'm telling you that I would not describe it as being that.
Oh, yeah, no, we do not like the old nail polish color.
Yes, we do.
No, we don't.
It's cool.
No, that's why we didn't get it. I won again.
Yeah, all their colors are good, but I wish they had more. I don't know.
Well, I mean, they're launching. So.
They're like a denim color. I'm like, yeah, it's nice, but I just don't want a blue
They should
color.
do like a bright orange.
I know. What else happened in Slough?
We went to Pismo Beach and had dinner at a fish house, which was pretty good.
Yes, and there was a brief discussion about going out into the downtown Slough that night.
For like 2 seconds.
And it was not met with a lot of enthusiasm from people. Everyone was so tired. I mean, we all had driven that day, or most of us had driven that day, so we were tired for sure. But it's odd to think that when someone says, "Do you want to go out to downtown Slough?" my initial response now is no, I do not. It's just a visceral no. But that was not the case before.
So why is that?
I'm tired. No, I think as you get older, you get tired. I would like to go downtown just to have a beer and hang out a little bit, but
I would like to go when they have their farmers market because it's fun.
That's a good idea. We should do that.
Yeah, but it's during the week.
Well, we can take a Friday off in 5 years from now.
When farmers market won't be around anymore.
I know. Yeah, that would be good though. Get some ribs or something, some corn on the cob. Yeah.
I love farmers markets, but they're not. They became. I feel like farmers market here. I don't know if they've always been like that, but are kind of like this bougie way of doing groceries now. I
know. I don't like that.
And
I don't like that it became that.
I don't like spending $12 for eggs. Like, I don't think they're better than the one at the supermarket.
I grew up.
No, not really. No, the best eggs you're gonna get are gonna be like from a good farm.
That's why you're buying them for $12 at the farmer's market. Farmer's market farm. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, but they don't look that big.
Okay.
Like, good eggs are like big
grapefruits.
No, but it's like San Francisco, like in the Sunset, there is farmer's market I went to a few times, and like you buy avocado, it's like $3 an avocado, and I'm like, what do you put in your avocado? Does it come with like surimi and bacon and a sandwich? Like, what is in there?
That'd be amazing if you open the avocado and there's no seed, but there's just bacon. Like, wow, this is amazing.
I mean, I'm like, is it a magical avocado? Like, what did you grow it from for it to be that price? Yeah. It makes no sense at all. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, in France too, like depending on which town you go to, usually every town in France has a farmer's market. Yeah. Probably here too. And depending on which town you go to, like there is like higher end and like lower end, or like more like normal price farmers market. But you could still like. Well, actually, I don't know nowadays if you still.
I'm sure it's more expensive, but the difference that I see, at least prices aside, are the people that go. The people that go to farmers market in France and probably a lot of other older countries, they're like normal people who have chosen to pay more money. Yes, but they're normal people. There's nothing pretentious about it. Here, though,
it's like a whole outing.
It's only the wealthy.
Yeah.
Because of, I guess, the way the economics work. But it's not only that, but everyone's like dressed up. Everyone's there's a little bit of snobbiness in the air for sure. Sometimes they're quite palatable. And you're just buying food, better food. Like, it doesn't have to be this snobby yoga pants. I'm wearing casual pants, but I'm wearing like Gucci flip. Like, what? Just food. Go buy food. You don't have to have so much attitude doing selfies. It's like, this is too much. It's too much.
Yeah, or it's that, or it's like the hippies. And I'm like, everyone else that's normal between the two is not there. Like,
I know.
It's just,
I know.
It's weird.
Yeah. What were we talking about a moment ago? Before the farmer's market? Oh, that's right. We were talking about the farmer's market in San Luis Obispo. It did occur to me. What time is it? We should probably wrap this up. For a topic for next time, then, which you can remind me of, is at David Brodie's ceremony. I was speaking with a bunch of different people. Everyone was super nice, kind of to be expected given who David was. But one of the conversations that was laced within the ceremony and also through discussions with the people I had there was how the downtown has changed over time and how it has changed for the better in some ways and also for the worse in some ways. And what does it mean to have a small town? How do you have it evolve in a positive way and not in a way where it takes away from what makes that place special? And that is an interesting discussion to be had because it talks about architecture, or I was going to say urbanism, but town planning, community development, developers, real estate, money, all that kind of stuff gets weaved into it. And this also is because David was part of this group called Save Our Downtown. And I don't know if they're still around. I think they still are. Where they were, basically local advocates for the community and for the development to take place in a certain way. But anyway, that'll be for next time because it's time to have some tacos, right? You don't have
I'm having a burrito bowl.
No, that is just
what?
This doesn't sound very authentic to me.
Oh, okay. It's what it is.
Okay, good. You're half asleep and you were about to have tacos. Yay, tacos. Okay, good?
Yeah.
Sponsors. Nope, that's not it. I'm tired. I was talking on the phone the other day with a friend, and I haven't spoken with her in a couple months, and she was like, "Oh, how are you doing?" Look, I'm doing good. How are you? She's like, "Oh, I'm busy." I'm like, "Yeah, I've been busy." I'm like, "Yeah, it's been a busy few." And I started counting the weeks that we've been busy. Then I started counting the months. Then I was like, it's been a busy few 10 years. No rest for the wicked, and we are wicked for sure. I don't say sponsors. What am I supposed to say? Outro, and then I point at you. Outro.
Oh boy. Thanks everyone for listening to this after hours. As you can tell, we're pretty tired.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Hopefully it made some sort of sense to someone.
I probably didn't. I don't know.
And if not, well, too bad. Just tune in the next one.
I know. If it's not, then what are you doing? Listen to it. Don't listen and then complain. Just stop listening.
Yeah. It's your podcast, your choice.
388 episodes you could listen to outside of this one.
I know. But if you like the show and you want to support us, the best way to do that is, of course, to subscribe to our channel wherever you can find it, on your podcast station, on YouTube, on Spotify, on iTunes. And of course, leave us reviews on all of those platforms. It just helps kind of, grow our presence. Mm-hmm. We're also on social media, mostly Instagram. We have a pretty good community and we are pretty active on there, post, quite a few times a week. So make sure to subscribe and check out what we're up to. And of course, we have the website, secondstudiopod.com, where all of the episodes are, some guest information, some transcript, and all of that stuff.
Did you mention the hotline?
No.
We have a phone number you can text or call. It goes straight to voicemail. If you have questions or guest suggestions, it's cool. It's 213-222-6950. And it's good. People message us, and I message them back. Sometimes I do have phone calls with people when they have questions about things. And I give really horrible dating advice and stay in touch with some offices and architects floating out there across the world about just whatever. We catch up about miscellaneous things, which you don't know about because it goes to my phone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, making all these friends everywhere.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So David has no friends. So if you want to be a friend of David, please reach out to him through the hotline because that goes to his phone. I
don't have time for friends. I have colleagues and I have clients. That's it, baby.
Okay.
Nothing else.
Okay, it is time to end this.
Sponsors.
Okay. That's it for this week. Thank you so much, guys, and stay tuned for next week. Bye-bye.
Sponsors.